morning or good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to welcome you all to this webinar on EU funding for impact entrepreneurs. This webinar aims to help impact entrepreneurs understand and navigate through EU funding opportunities. As we all know, raising funds is always a topic of critical importance, and this webinar is one on the series we are developing on the subject. So if you would like already to listen to previous webinars on this topic, like the one we organized on raising impact investment or a series on venture capital, I invite you to visit the Institute's YouTube channel, where also in a few days you can access today's recording. For those that are joining us for the first time, I am Luisa Ferreira and I'm Head of Social at European Investment Bank Institute, and I will be your host for today's webinar. It is my great pleasure to introduce you to today's speaker, Marco Zappalorto. Marco has recently joined as a senior innovation expert the consultancy firm VVA. As part of his role, Marco, together with the VVA innovation team, acts as a strategic partner to help private, public, and third sector organizations to access the unprecedented funding opportunities made available by EU institutions. Prior to VVA, Marco was CEO of Nesta Italia, the EU headquarters of the UK Innovation Foundation Nesta, when I had the privilege to meet him. Before I give the mic to Marco, one quick logistic remark. If you have questions or comments throughout his presentation, please write them in the chat box and always use the option send to all panelists. Marco will try to answer all of them at the end of his presentation. Thanks, and I now invite Marco to join us. Marco, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much, Luisa, for the kind words and the presentation, and thank you very much to you and European Investment Bank Institute to host me today for this webinar. As Luisa said, the webinar today we will focus on European funding for impact entrepreneurs, for social entrepreneurs. And because we think there is a huge opportunity now to get funding to support impact projects. I am Marco Zappalorto, as Luisa said, and I spent over 10 years working in the social innovation and social impact field. I understand myself how important it is to have someone who believes in the projects that social entrepreneurs develop, and believing in it means also provide the resources available to grow these projects and to grow the impact of these projects. I had the pleasure of meeting Luisa a few years ago while I was working on the European Social Innovation Competition, and of course she was managing, and she's still managing, the amazing social innovation tournament of the European Investment Bank. And I know that the European Investment Bank Institute cares a lot, not just about supporting social entrepreneurship through a number of programs that they do, and especially through the tournament, but also supporting the constant and continuous development of the organizations they fund and they select through the project, through the programs. And I think it is an opportunity then for you to learn a bit more about some of the numerous opportunities available at European level, because knowing about all of them in less than 1 hour would be probably impossible, because there are many of them. So I will try to give you an overview. I will share now my presentation. I will try to give you an overview about the, sorry, I just try to understand. See, okay, sorry, it's technology video. About the multi-annual financial framework of the European Commission and how the money will be spent for the next 7 years. And let's bear in mind that because of the current crisis we are living, there is almost one extra trillion available for European entrepreneurs. And then we will have an overview of the specific funding available for social entrepreneurs, for social policy, for social impact. And then at the end, there will be an opportunity for Q&As. So I will start by giving you an overview of the multi-annual financial framework. As I said, following the coronavirus crisis, the European institutions, together with European member states, European member states allocated the largest package ever financed through the European budget, which is 1.8 trillion. So the normal budget of the European Commission would be just above 1 trillion. But for the next 7 years, there is 750 billion extra available through the Next Generation EU. And the aim of this package is to rebuild a greener, more digital, and more resilient Europe for current and forthcoming challenges. And I'm sure that most of you are working on projects that precisely fall in these categories. If we look specifically about what is of interest of the European Commission, you can see that the 7 main areas are single market, innovation and digital, cohesion, resilience and values, natural resources and environment, migration and border management, security and defense, neighborhood and the world, and European public administration. So these are the 7 main areas. And within these main areas, there are many sub areas, and all of them aim at building a more resilient, a greener Europe. I also want to give you an overview of the different instruments available, split by size of the money allocated to each instrument. But we can see that the bigger one is Horizon Europe, and we will talk a bit more about Horizon Europe. There are also investment opportunities. So this is also a new thing of the European Commission, that the European Commission has decided to invest and become, in some cases, equity partners of some European startups. And then there are important budgets allocated to the Erasmus Plus. This is also like a program we will talk a bit more later. Creative Europe, Rights and Values, and many more. But because we talk about innovation, I would like to start from the real the new program of the new instrument of the new mechanism of the European Commission, which is the European Innovation Council. I don't know how many of you have heard of the European Innovation Council, but the European Innovation Council aims to identify and support breakthrough technologies and game-changing innovation to create new markets and scale internationally. Within the European Innovation Council, there are specific instruments that aim at supporting different types of projects, different types of entrepreneurs, and projects that are also at different stages of development. So the first one is the European Innovation Council Pathfinder, and this is aimed at research team to research and develop breakthrough emerging technologies. The grants are between 3 and 4 million to support early stage development of future technologies. Then there is the European Innovation Council transition and support mature and novel technology and develop a business case to bring it to market. The grants are up to 2.5 million to validate the technology. So here we're looking at technologies that are more developed. Then there is the European Innovation Council Accelerator. And European Innovation Council Accelerator is funds, this is like where the European Commission invests directly in startups and small companies to develop and scale up game-changing innovations. And in this case, there are grants of up to 2.5 million euros available, plus investments of up to 15 million euros available. So this is like, you know, for the very first time, the European Commission is investing in equity. Then there is also I think this would be very useful for some of you who are following this webinar, the business acceleration services to support projects and companies for coaching, mentoring, and partnering. Then there is European innovation ecosystems, and this is extremely important to support and enable innovation ecosystem actors to work together across Europe. And there are many calls also focused on building ecosystem of social entrepreneurs or ecosystem around social innovation, where social innovators and social entrepreneurs can connect with, for instance, technology developers who and use technology to enlarge the impact of their solutions. And then also important, you know, you have participated in, some of you have participated at the European Investment Bank Institute tournament, social innovation tournament. So some of you are used to participating to competition prizes. And within the European Innovation Council, there are the European Innovation Council prizes. And here is an opportunity for innovators to compete around specific challenges or to solve specific problems. One example is the EU Prize for Women Innovators. We also have the EU Capital of Innovation Awards, the European Innovation Council Horizon Prizes, and under the European Innovation Council prizes falls also the European Social Innovation Competition, which I would say is a bit of a cousin of the Social Innovation Tournament, but we will have a special slide dedicated to it. The next deadline for the European Innovation Council is October 2021. And you can find all the information on the European Commission website. And so this is just a brief overview because I have many things I want to show you today. This is a brief overview, but for more information, please check the European Innovation Council website, which is extremely comprehensive. I'll move on to the next slide. The next slide is the LIFE program. The LIFE program is the youth funding instruments for environment and climate action. The main objective of the program is to contribute to the implementation, updating, and development of EU environmental and climate policy by co-financing projects with substantial added value for Europe. And I think this is like a key word, added value for Europe. And beneficiaries are many companies, small businesses, researchers, non-governmental organizations, public bodies who demonstrate to create jobs and growth to help Europe become sustainable, low carbon economy. And if you look at the categories of the LIFE program, you can see that we have nature and biodiversity, circular economy and quality of life, climate change mitigation and adaptation, and the life clean energy transition. So again, the European Commission recognizes the importance of financing researchers, small businesses, non-governmental public bodies, not-for-profit, social enterprises, who will help them become a more sustainable continent, a more sustainable and low carbon economy. And for the life, the contributions available are between 500,000 euros and 5 million euros, depending on the specific project. And the next deadline is end of November 2021. And once again, my recommendation is to, if you are developing a solution in this field, and if you're looking for support, for financial support, I will highly recommend you to visit the LIFE website for more information. I'll go on. Here is the Horizon Europe 21-27, and as you can see from my initial slide, the Horizon Europe is the biggest research and innovation program of the European Commission, with a budget of almost 100 billion. The Horizon Work Program includes is divided into research clusters, and those clusters are health, culture, creativity, and inclusive societies, civil security for society, digital, industry and space, climate, energy and mobility, food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment. The difference between the instruments I showed you before and the Horizon Europe is that the instruments before, so the European Innovation Council and LIFE, are aimed at financing and supporting a business, an organization. In this case, is the European Commission that identifies a specific priority or wants to develop a specific project. So you will be partnering with other partners in Europe to develop the specific project for the European Commission, to research a specific topic for the European Commission. So it's like you become someone who works for the European Commission or helps the European Commission reach a specific objectives. And this is for this reason that Horizon calls require the creation of a European consortium with at least 3 member states represented. And they will present projects that will be carried over for a period of between 24 and 36 months. And the Horizon projects, they vary in terms of budget, and they provide 100% co-financing for research and innovation actions and 70% co-financing for innovation actions. There are many Horizon calls open at different times of the year. So as you can see, there are several deadlines during the year, and those calls are also very vary in terms of the topic they focus on. Navigating the Horizon, let's say, opportunities is probably a bit more difficult than gathering the informations from the previous 2 instruments that we've seen. But normally what can be done, you can download the work program and very often search for keywords, or in the work program, you can go to the section of your interest and within that, see what are the opportunities. So for instance, if you're working in the health space, my advice would be to download the Horizon Europe work program, search for the health section, and within the health section, check if there are opportunities for you to help the Commission reach a specific goal or objective in that field. Clearly, it works very well when what you are working on, the product or the service you are developing, is very aligned with what the Commission needs. And if you can work with partners that, or it's pretty aligned with what the Commission needs, but you find complementary skills with other partners within Europe. So this is my recommendation. And I would say the real benefit of taking part into Horizon Europe is that it's the scale of the project. They are big, ambitious projects. Very often the Commission decides not to end the project with the end of the project, but to invest more in the project. So very often they are long lasting. They allow you to build European partnerships, and they allow you to sometimes very often shape the development, the development at European level of a specific research project. So I've participated as in some Horizon Europe projects, and they always be like a very great experience. I carry on because I want to leave time for questions as well. The Erasmus Plus is the European program to support education, training, youth, and sport in Europe. And it has a total budget of around 26 billion euros. The 21-27 program places a strong focus on social inclusion, the green, the digital transition, and promoting young people's participation in democratic life. So the program supports the European Pillar of Social Rights, implements the EU Youth Strategy, and develops the European dimension in sport. So again, this is a really good funding scheme for social innovators, for social enterprises, for organizations that are already working in education, in training, in youth, and in sport. And this is like, there are grants, and the budget depends on the specific project you're carrying over. And every year there are 2 or 3 deadlines per year. So once again, my strong recommendation is to check the Erasmus Plus website and to check to monitor the next deadlines if you're interested in this specific funding scheme. Then there is the European Social Fund Plus. The European Social Fund Plus is the EU's main instrument for investing in people. The total budget again is around 100 billion euros for the 21-27 period. And it's an important contribution to employment, education, social and skills policies, and includes major structural reforms in these areas. Within the European social, so the reason why this is important is because some of the social innovation and social entrepreneurship calls, specific calls, falls under this funding mechanism. So my advice is to monitor what are the calls that are issued under this scheme. For example, there is the European Social Fund Plus Social Innovation, that has a budget of almost 200 million. And this is like a EU-wide initiative to develop multinational projects and replicate and scale up innovative solutions. Under this, they were also established the European Competence Centers for Social Innovation that have been funded across Europe. And these centers, they collect, assess, develop, validate, and disseminate suitable tools and methods at the national level for social innovation. So the initiative will offer mutual learning, capacity building, and network for European social funds managing authorities and other relevant stakeholders. So again, this is something extremely important because the European Commission confirms the importance of social innovation, of social enterprises, and the willingness of funding more and more initiatives that go from research to ideas, to testing, experimentation, to scale up. When I say that you need to mention the specific calls under this scheme, this is one example. The specific grant agreement for social enterprises with the deadline of the 30th of September 2021, and the calls aim at providing specific operating grants for 2022 to the organization that will sign a 4-year framework partnership agreement. For example, networks active in the areas of microfinance and social enterprises finance. And the activities to be funded here contain mutual learning among members, research activities, and input for policy design. So for instance, this is a great initiative to be involved with. And again, this falls under the European Social Fund. And the only way of finding out about, unfortunately, is by checking the website, studying the work program, looking at what is available for this kind of initiatives. Then there is, again, the European Programme for Employment and Social Innovation, also called EASI. And this is another strand under the ESF Plus, and it's a financing instrument at European level to promote a high level of quality and sustainable employment, guaranteeing adequate and decent social protection, combating social exclusion and poverty, and improving working conditions. The total budget is 1 billion euros, and I'm sure that many of you work for organizations or managing projects that have the same goal of fighting inequalities or making sure that people have adequate and decent social protection. So once again, I want to stress here that I'm giving you an overview of all the opportunities available for you, but what you have to do is go check the opportunities that are more relevant for you, the ones that are more interesting for you. So this is my strong invitation. And then I mentioned that under the European Innovation Council prizes, there is also the European Social Innovation Competition. The European Social Innovation Competition is a very good friend of the EIB Social Innovation Tournament, and very often they do events together. And the European Social Innovation Competition, each year, they give out 3 prizes of 50,000 euros to the best socially innovative projects designed to change the world for better. And the competition launched for the first time in 2013 and acts as a beacon for social innovators across Europe, employing a proven methodology for supporting early stage ideas and facilitating a network of radical innovators shaping European society for better. So this methodology starts from selecting ideas and helping the ideas through bespoke capacity building to develop into concrete projects. And these concrete projects to have the skills and the competencies to deliver impact in Europe for a better society. Since 2013, so almost for 10 years, each year the competition addresses a different issue facing Europe. So the 2021 edition, which is now closed for application, the topic was Skills for Tomorrow, Shaping a Green and Digital Future, stressing again the importance of the European Commission of these areas of green economy and digital economy for a better future, which is what we need. Yes. So I've given you an overview of some of the measures available for social enterprises and for social innovators, for the social economy. I also want to share you some top tips for approaching European funding. The first one, which is very, very important, is not to underestimate the work you're doing. I meet many social innovators, I meet many social entrepreneurs. They think that what they are doing is too small. They think they don't have the skills, the capacity to bid for European programs, for European funding. This is not true. The European Commission, the European institutions funding are extremely inclusive. They're extremely democratic. They're open to everyone, different sizes. Maybe if you're working with other partners and if you are small, maybe there would be a smaller role for you, but it doesn't mean that you're too small to get European money or too small to make a difference. So it's very important not to underestimate your work. Second point, and I think I've said it enough today, is the continuous monitoring of European opportunities. Once you identify the strand that is the most relevant for you, create an alert for news, subscribe to the newsletter, go check the website every week. It's important that there is a continuous monitoring of European opportunities. There are servers that do it for you, but the opportunities are many, and it's important to monitor them. Third thing, understand what projects or activities can be funded. This is also important. Understand precisely what European institutions are looking for, and it's important not to waste time, because putting together an application for European funding is hard work, and it requires time. It requires a resource dedicated to it. So before investing the time, before investing the resources, understand what the European Commission, the European institutions are looking for, what projects they want to fund, what activities they can fund, and what is the type of funding they're providing. We've seen that most of them are grants, but some of them are investments. So make sure you understand those properly. Create European networks, because European networks are important to build European partnerships. And European partnerships are important to grow the ambition of the projects you present for funding. European networks and partnerships are also important to share good practice, to replicate, to scale in different parts of Europe, but also to understand if something that I'm doing here could work in other places. This is extremely important. And then this is like something I learned myself as well. Use the right vocabulary. If you want to be successful, you need to understand and use the European vocabulary. And there isn't a webinar or a course to learn that. You learn that just by doing, by reading many work programs, by reading many tenders, by reading many funding opportunities, and by bidding for them. These are my top tips. And I'm sure that some of you who had experience with European programs would agree with me that these 6 points are very important. I want to conclude and then leave some time for questions to tell you a bit more what I'm doing right now, because it might be important for you. Like, I worked many years in for a foundation, the UK Innovation Foundation. I managed the European headquarters of this European Innovation Foundation. My work was to mainly fund social innovation projects, social innovation research. But I decided to join a consultancy specialized in management consultancy in European funding, because I guess that right now, the best way to help social entrepreneurs, impact entrepreneurs to have impact is by helping them identify and make the most out of the unprecedented opportunities presented by the recovery and resilience plan of the European Commission. And this is why I want to share some of my knowledge of the social innovation and the social impact sector, combined with my colleagues' knowledge of managing businesses and managing large European programs, to help private, public, third sector organizations identify, develop, and deliver European funding opportunities and get funded to support the amazing work they're already doing in Europe. So this is the end of my presentation. This is why I'm leaving about 20 minutes for questions, but also feel free to get in touch with me if you want more information, if you want to know more about what are these opportunities. So thank you very much. I'm sure, I believe the presentation will be shared through the EIB Institute channels, and now I'm available for questions. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Marco. And I will leave you a couple of seconds to look through the chat for some comments. And I will take this opportunity to also add to your presentation, since the Institute is part of the EIB Group, that for those that don't know, comprises the EIB, the EU Policy Bank, plus the IF, which is the European Investment Fund, plus as the Institute, which is the philanthropic arm. And in fact, you know, when we organize, just to give some background, this series of webinars, our target population is the first layer, I would say, is the Social Innovation Tournament alumni, but because knowledge is important for us, we open this series of webinars to all impact entrepreneurs. And so I think it's important to mention, even though I see some of our alumni are attending the webinar, so they know what the Social Innovation Tournament is about. Many of them, I know that they've also benefited from the EIC or from the Erasmus Plus throughout the years. And I think I should mention that all the funding opportunities, for example, that Marco was mentioning, like the investment part of the EIC, for example, the EASI part, the guarantee instrument, the capacity building investments window, and the funding instrument is managed by the European Investment Fund. Like the EIB works with the Commission, with the European Innovation Council. So the grant part is financed by the Commission, and then the investment part is financed under some agreements by the European Investment Bank. So when we talk about the investment part, usually the partner is the European Investment Bank Group. Also, I've seen a question that was previously shared with us in the questions, which is, does DIB finance health projects? Yes, DIB, as long as it's within its priorities, which is climate, cohesion, and you can see all of them on the site, also finances health projects. In fact, it has been doing so since the late 90s, financing health and education. The other thing I would like to mention is, for those that don't know, is the Social Innovation Tournament, and you can look for it in our website, which is a competition that started 10 years ago. And it's a great opportunity for projects to become part of the alumni and benefit from many opportunities, but also to get some prizes. This year, to mark the 10th anniversary, the first prizes are, each one of them, 75,000, which is a considerable amount of money to implement the project. The applications are closed now. We are now going through the pitching competition and the final event that will take place in October. But next year, in January, February, the applications will open again, and so it will be an opportunity for some that were asking, how can I access funds, to also participate. I will let now Marco go through, if you have any comments on the questions that are in the chat. Otherwise,
Luis, I'm glad you spoke about the European Investment Bank. I didn't take the freedom of speaking about the investment bank because you know it so well that
that's the reason we are part of a team.
Exactly.
We are working. And if people want to know more about what DIB does and how they can maybe benefit from the funds, they can always contact us, and I will put you in a relationship. But there's a lot of information on our website, which I know that also sometimes is difficult to surf through. But I will now let you react to the chat comments, which
okay. First of all, like I can see, there's a question about funds available for Europe and Asian innovation connectors. And I know there was a question about funding available for Africa as well. So the European Commission does fund transnational collaborations. So this is something that they do. And again, my recommendation is to check the website of the European Commission, because they value extremely well collaboration between Europe and other continents. So just to give you an example, there is the Africa-EU partnership, which is like 20 billion euros allocated to transnational projects, of which 20% of those 20 million are managed by the European Commission. This is something I know from the top of my head. I assume there would be similar instruments available for collaborations between Europe and Asia as well. There's another question about, I want to clarify that we spoke a lot about ideas, prototypes, technology, products. So the European Commission, through the European institutions, through the instruments, they fund projects at different stage of development. So there are schemes for ideas, to support ideas, the development of ideas. There are schemes that help ideas become prototypes. There are schemes that help prototypes become products. There are schemes that help products make it to market. So again, depending on the different on the specific funding scheme, depending on the scale of funding and the ambition of the specific, or not just the ambition, but just the goal of the specific project. Again, it's really like up to you to check for the scheme that is more relevant for what you need to do. And we know that really like the process of developing innovation goes from researching a specific need to having and demonstrating a long-lasting impact. And all stages are important, and the European institutions recognize that. There's a question about how long the process from application to receiving investment from the EIC Accelerator for Startup takes. I would takes less than expected, but still a bit of time. I would say it takes a it. I mean, it takes a bit, and then we're looking now because we're supporting a number of startups. We're helping them becoming. We're helping them navigating the EIC proposal or application. And it takes a bit of time to prepare an application. So I would say that even though you already have, let's say, a technology and that is working, but you still need to take into account about 2 or 3 months to work on the application. I'm not saying full time, but you need to take it very seriously. And the application is 2 stages. So there is a light application and a more complicated application. And the first one is to help it's for the Commission to understand whether there is whether there are chances to get the investment, and then if the first application, which is lighter, is successful, then they ask you to submit a more detailed application. And the process of getting investments, that I don't know exactly, because depends by the due diligence, depends case by case, but I would say not less than 6 months, but maybe Luisa knows better than I do.
You know, it may take 6 months, it may take 1 year, also because on the grant part, if I understand correctly how it works, you are awarded a grant part, and you might be awarded a principal grant, not grant, but authorization for investment. And then there's all the due diligence, and you also have to have investors on your side, because it's not, the IB will not finance the 100% of the investment part, so on the equity as well. So you also need to bring other investors to the process.
Yes, exactly. There is another question about comparing both application processes, but maybe it's easier to go first local, national, since the competition is smaller, and then, well, my opinion on national versus Europe is, I mean, my opinion is like, it depends. Like for instance, I'm based between Brussels and Italy. And I know that the Italian government, especially now, has developed a number of measures to support SMEs and startups and social entrepreneurs. And you're probably right about maybe being less competitive, but it really depends. So I would say that if you're looking for funding, to consider, my strong advice would be to consider at the same time both European and national opportunities, because they're probably they're different. I know for a fact that you know, for instance, I'm comparing Italy with Europe. I would say that right now the European opportunities are, in a sense, how can I say it? But they're a bit more forward-looking. So they're really looking at financing breakthrough. They're really looking at financing new approaches, new products, new services for a better Europe. Maybe I would say that the instruments provided by Italian government are a bit more traditional. So my advice would be I wouldn't have a preference between the two, but to consider both at the same time. I know it takes time, but then it's also worth it. Other questions? I will write my email address again, and I'll thank you for the compliments. I'm glad it was clear and comprehensive. Okay. I think I probably no. How long did the project because of that? Okay.
I think you answered all
we probably
the questions.
addressed all the questions. There's a question about Horizon Europe. Is it possible for an organization to make a proposal for the other two member organization, or is it a decision made by the Horizon Commission? I'm not sure what you mean by a proposal for other two EU member organizations, but normally the way it works is that when you identify a specific call of interest it is interesting for you, then you would look for partners that can work with you on delivering a specific project. So the application is made by a number of partners, and the number of partners depends also on the size of the opportunity. But you present the application with other partners. So it's your decision, and also it's your decision. You pick the partner and you make sure that the partners are from other EU member states, but the European Commission does not decide where they should come from or who the partners should be. It's really up to the applicant to decide the best people to partner with in order to increase the chances of getting the project funded.
I think that I don't see any other questions. So, and I just see one, can I get the PDF later? Yes, the recorded webinar will be available in our YouTube channel, the IB Institute YouTube channel, and we'll be sharing the presentation with you at a later stage. So, and I've already seen that we've already typed your correct email address, so which is also in the presentation.
Perfect.
So everything is perfect now. So thank you so much, Marco, for sharing with us this comprehensive overview of all the instruments. And I would just like to ask those that are with us to reply to the very short survey that is now on screen.
I would like to thank you, Luisa, for the opportunity and for the great organization and everyone who participated into this webinar. Thank you. And I hope to see you again in the future.
And thank you, Denise, for being in the background.
Exactly.
Everything. So thank you all, and see you our next webinars. And wish you all a very nice summer.